Welcome everybody to the Survive and Thrive Abroad Virtual Summit. Today we're going to have the Power of Women's Network and Expat Communities Roundtable discussion. I'm Estefania. I'm originally from Brazil, but I've lived in 4 different countries, and right now I'm on the US. I have a background in psychology and HR, and I use that to coach expat women with the same struggles that I had. And also I created Grow Together, an online community for Brazilian women living abroad. So what's gonna happen today? We're gonna have a round of introductions with these amazing ladies, and then we're gonna dig deep in some thought-provoking questions and learn a lot from each other. Can't wait. Ale, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ali Meehan. I'm founder of Costa Women, which I started in 2010. It's a completely free community for women who are living in Spain or women that are thinking about moving to Spain. We currently have 138 different nationalities and meet up in about 38 locations, or we connect in about 38 different locations. So we're currently at about 9,200 members.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
That's amazing. Amanda?
Sure. My name is Amanda Bates. I am currently in the US, but I was a third culture kid. So I grew up between the US and Cameroon and sub-Saharan Africa, and also as an expat out in Qatar in the Middle East. And I'm sure I'm going to go somewhere else soon enough. But I am the founder of the Black Expat, which really looks at Black identity and international living. It's a digital platform that decided to open a space to a group of expats that normally don't see themselves reflected in expat literature and some of the resources. And so it's been in existence since 2016, and it was actually launched right before I was going to Qatar. And I'm also the host of the Global Chatter podcast, which takes a deeper dive in Black and Brown expatriation abroad.
That's amazing, Amanda. Janine?
Oh, hi, it's lovely to be here. So, oh, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. I've had a cold, but it's not COVID. Okay. Anyhow, so Janine Sonsi, I'm an Australian, and I moved to France to live, to follow my dream at the beginning of last year at the tender age of 58, almost 59. And I decided I want to start up a group for expat women in France. So I am the founder of Club Mojo Circle, which will launch hopefully by the end of the year, as soon as I get this amazing community software application written. And but at the moment, about just over a year ago, I started the group Expat Women in France on Facebook. And last June, we had about 75 women, and today we have over 2,300.
Awesome.
So it's growing really fast. I've been adding like 50 women a week, and it's all about support, as I'll tell you more in a minute. And I think that's why it's growing, because that's what expat women are looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Great. I'm so excited for our discussions because I'm seeing some similarities already. So, well, you talked a bit, but tell us a bit more about your women's network and what inspired you to create it, and what this community provides, resources for women.
Do you want me to start, Estefania?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Good. So I actually started it for a purely selfish reason, because I wanted some friends. So I moved to Spain to live with my husband, the man who's now my husband, and I was working from home for a company based in the Middle East. So the only people I really saw were my husband and the delivery man who delivered parcels for me, and that was about it. Yeah. So we actually ended up moving out to the Middle East, and when we came back, I decided that I wanted to build something so that I could get some more friends in a complete nutshell. So Costa Women now offer both business, networking and social connection. So we do social events as well, because I don't think women are defined by their businesses. They are humans in their own right. And our aim is to connect, inspire, enable and support women in their journeys to and around Spain. So that's in a nutshell what we offer. So we do all sorts of different things. Since March, we've hosted about 200 Zoom calls on different topics, both business and social. We have an International Women's Day conference every year. I've designed a planner. All sorts of fun stuff happens.
Yeah, I can relate to that, Ali. I started Grow Together because I was feeling lonely, and same as you, I came because my husband was transferred, so he had a social life and I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, and I started looking for friends and trying to get people to go to events that I would like to go, so they probably would identify with me, and that grew because of that. And I feel like when it comes from something that we miss, is so much more authentic.
Yeah,
because we are trying to provide for ourselves first, and then we provide for the group.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of most of the really cool businesses that are around, they're meeting a need from the person that created them in the first place.
Yeah.
So they've had that need and then built a business around it, and those are the ones that generally work.
Yeah, exactly.
We learn what we want to what we need to teach, and we actually create businesses for ourselves as the target market.
That is so true. Yeah. Amanda, Janine.
I was going to hop in and say the Black expat kind of came out sort of backwards. So I mentioned in my intro, I was a third culture kid. And so here's kind of a weird way where the Black expat came out. I used to run a Twitter community for adult third culture kids, and with a woman named, if you don't know her, Ellen Mahoney, Sea Change Mentoring. She's amazing because she was a third culture kid. And as a moderator, I started to see conversations from different groups of now adults who were third culture kids and expats about their experiences, and particularly those who had a Black identity were talking about their experiences, both with their parents and their families, and as expats now, that really wasn't being talked about. And so really the Black expat came out of a conversation of third culture kids who were saying, we don't really see our experiences reflected. And so I always say that our community is, for lack of a better term, Black inclusive, meaning it isn't North American. We have Black expats who come from all over the world, but we try to give sort of the perspective of maybe how they may be received in a certain country, how to find certain resources, wellness resources, wherever they're going, because that often you're a minority within the expat community you might be in. And so we're there to kind of support and sort of address some of the challenges that people may face or may encounter.
Yeah.
Okay. So mine actually came from a plan. So I came to Nice in 2018 for 3 months to learn French. Oh, how naive I was. And I was talking with a girlfriend here at the time, and she said, oh, I want to start up a business where we help teach women about France and introduce them to food and wine and everything. And then I took that idea further and went, I don't speak French, so it'd be really good if I was working in my own business speaking English for a start. And I thought about expat women, just like you described, Estefania and Ali, and how a lot of expat women follow their husband, or they come here single. And if you don't have kids, it's really hard to meet people. And I thought I want to set up a community like that. So the focus of expat women in France and Club Mojo Circle, as it will be next year, is to provide community connection and growth. And my focus is on personal growth, because I've been doing it for so long, and And I want to help other women grow, and I want to help them connect with each other and create this community where we all feel supported and positive. And so my focus is mostly on emotional and mental support, as well as answering questions on anything like, where do I find a gynecologist who speaks English on the French Riviera? Because that's not the sort of question you want to ask in a mixed group necessarily. So, and it's really important for me that women have a much greater need for community than men do. And so that's why I've made it for women only. And also, women are different in a group when there's only women from what they are in a group where there's men. And I wanted that authenticity of just be free to be ourselves, however that is.
Yeah. You know, Janine, you said that yours was planned. And after I started Grow Together, like on the second month, I remember my training as a psychologist. And I said, oh yeah, like it makes sense. This social part of life is such a lever for us to adapt and to build a new identity. But it was on the second, on the third month after I started, it came from loneliness, but after the psychology training kicked in. It's a mix, right?
It is a mix, because I realized that what I'm bringing into this business is a lot of my different areas of background, sales and marketing, even the technology industry, because I started off there, and personal development. And I just love organizing things, and I love great food and great wine. So, hey, let's just bring all of that together. And I like meeting new people. So let's do all of that together.
And talking about those people, those communities, what you guys think are the biggest challenges your members face, and how does being part of the community help them?
For me, I would say it's a lack of research before they actually move country. So maybe they've been somewhere on holiday and really loved it and thought this is what it would be like if I lived here permanently, and it actually isn't, because you're normally having to work. So understanding what the business culture is and how that can be different. Spain, and I think probably France is similar, are known for their bureaucracy. And there's no point in getting stressed about it, because it just is. You're never going to have a single woman campaign against the whole of the bureaucracy that's been like there forever. So there's no point in getting stressed about it. I just say Spain isn't wrong, it just is, and you have to accept it. And also accept sometimes it doesn't work out for everybody. You know, sometimes they haven't got the right mindset, or they are pulled by maybe grandchildren back in the UK. I mean, I've noticed that with some of our members, that once their children start having children, then they no longer feel that comfortable being in another country. They want to be near their friends and family. And obviously this is going out during COVID, and a lot of them have found it difficult to be apart from their friends and family in their own country during those specific times. So those are some of the challenges. But it's still a wonderful thing to do, you know, even if you just have it. I've got a lady who's in her 80s, and she said she came here in her 70s on a gap year with her husband, because they weren't allowed gap years when they were at university. So she came here on a gap year. They're still here. So
wow.
But yeah, if you're adventurous and you're prepared to fit in with the local culture, because that's another thing I think we're all a bit guilty of. You know, we want to navigate towards people that we know that speak our language, and you really do have to start learning to fit in with the local culture.
I think, I think Ali hit a lot of the main ones that we're seeing, but I'm actually going to pick on something Janine said. You were talking about the gynecologist. And so for our members, sometimes it's even just like simple things. It's like, who can do your hair? I mean, if you're in a country that does not have a large Black population, trust me, I've gotten emails where someone has said, do you know anyone who does Black hair in Estonia? Well, I've never been to Estonia. So I'm emailing the crowd and I'm going, I've got someone in Ukraine. Is that close enough? But I think just even finding things that are maybe a little bit more cultural, and this could be for any group, to be honest, but I think things that are a little bit more cultural, ethnic, sensitive. And then I think even, I think COVID has highlighted this. Obviously, we're dealing where everyone is separated because of this pandemic, but I think even, for particularly our Black Americans, I think seeing what's been happening in the US and being far, there's a little bit of a sense of isolation if they're not in another community where there are other Americans where they can kind of talk through what they're seeing both politically and social-wise and whatever. And so I would say community, and then also maybe more cultural specific things, that the resources that people just need for like day to day.
Yeah.
I would say, and we touched on them, but I definitely go, the biggest challenges are overcoming isolation and loneliness. And the reason I say that is that I ask a question when women join the Facebook group, and it's, what would you like to change or improve about your life the most? And the most common answers by far are to make friends and improve my social life. So everyone is looking for connection, and it's because, you know, especially as adults, you know, we leave everyone behind in our last country. We leave all of our friends that we've, you know, grown up with, made over 30, 40, 50 years, and we come to a new country and we begin again. And especially if we don't speak the language, it's just really hard to start and to even find who are people near me, like who's around. And that's one of the most common questions when they join the group is, oh, I'm in Toulon, who's near here? Or I'm in, you know, wherever it is. Now, just to plug my new website application, I'm going to have a map on it so that everyone can drill down, they can look at the map and see who is actually near them and then send messages.
Yeah.
So that is the biggest challenge. And as Ali mentioned before, French bureaucracy would be the second biggest, but there is nothing we can do about it except we can complain together.
Yeah. Have a glass of wine.
Yeah, at least we have really good rosé, so you know, that's okay.
Yeah. And in my group, I feel like, well, we are not localized, so we are not in the US specifically, so we don't talk about only the way of the US. And we have a lot of different groups of Brazilian, for example, Brazilian in the US, Brazilian in California, etc. And Grow Together have a really specific way of doing things. So our events have a DNA, if I may, in a sense that our community building is around people identifying with themselves, which is like, I don't know, people identifying with our volunteers, with me, with the topics that we talk about. So, because I talked to some Brazilians, and we are social people. We are very social people. And then they said, I would have acquaintances, but it's more like convenient because we speak the same language, but not so much that we can become friends. So Grow Together was like a meeting point for people who actually identify with the things that we talk about, which won't be for all Brazilian women abroad, but will be for some of them. And we are happy with that. So yeah,
and I love what you say about DNA, because I think probably all of our groups are our DNA is what's driving them. And if women come and join our groups and it isn't for them, the important thing is not to take it personally. They're just not your people. You know, what you offer them isn't what they, you know, necessarily are looking for.
Yeah.
That's one of my answers to a later question, Ali.
Okay.
Yeah,
Rewind it.
and going to that question, why is it important to find a community when you live abroad, and how can expats go about finding one?
Can I start there?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
It's really basics of we as women, but we as humans, we need to connect with other humans, and women in particular do.
Yeah.
And if you look at women throughout the ages, even back to the Stone Age, they would form a community in their local area, and they'd sit around and they'd prepare food and they'd talk, or they'd do the harvesting, or they'd sit in the village and they'd create a community where they supported each other. And it's inherent in our DNA. We actually need that connection with other people. And if we remain isolated, we will get sick, you know. So that is why we need a community. And because, as I just said, when we've left our community that we've known most recently behind, we have to find, first of all, our own place, and then how do we connect with other communities? And I've actually found Facebook is a really, really great way for connecting with those communities, just searching on what your interest is or where you are. And there's so many wonderful communities that I found so much information before I came to France. I organized accommodation here with, private accommodation for the first few months. And that was through, English speaking on the French Riviera or something like that. So it's searching, and Facebook's a really good place to search to find it.
Yeah.
And I think Janine made a really good point there about she did it before she moved. And I think that's the important thing, that you don't wait until you've arrived in a country before you start doing your research. You actually find the community before you move, because then it gets rid of a bit of that angst that you may have about actually moving to another country, because you're already starting to make some good connections with local women in our 4 cases, who are, living where you want to live, and they've already been there, they've been through the problems that you may be facing, and they'll be I've not met a woman who is not prepared to share her experiences with another woman.
Yeah,
very true.
I mean, the West African in me always says you've got to find your tribe. And you've got to find your people. Otherwise, I mean, if you're tethered to someone, you have a better experience, right? And so of course, Facebook has been powerful, and in terms of Black expatriation, there's like literally groups that are specific to countries, and you can find that. Our group skews a little bit, and I don't know the age demographics with your groups, but we've got also a really growing community on Instagram. And what I have just found is that people see the images, and then all of a sudden they start connecting with each other and connecting with us, and our instant messages or DMs are always full. But I think that just even seeing how people are living their expatriation lives, and the ones who are being honest, not the ones who've cleaned it up with filters, but who are just like, this is what it's like with my 2-year-old right now in Benin. People tend to go, oh my gosh, I'm going through the same thing in Costa Rica. And so, but that's the other community, I think, for us is Instagram, and then a little bit of Twitter in terms of kind of building, reaching more people that would not be on Facebook.
Yeah, we use Instagram as well a lot, more than Facebook. Yeah, and I feel like after this mapping, like talking to people or Facebook, and I went on a speed dating phase, in a sense of going to an event, talking to people, and trying different communities and groups. And then, well, I created my own, but even on those communities, I decided that some of them was what I was looking for and some of them weren't. So don't be discouraged if the first or the second community that you find isn't exactly what you are looking for, because as Janine said, we as humans, we want to connect. So you're gonna find a community that makes sense to you. So yeah, try and error.
or you can start one when you know that you're moving to France.
Exactly.
I got to put the
Also.
plug in.
And going to the next question, how did building a community help you guys personally in your journey abroad?
I'm going to totally take this. What I love, because ours isn't country specific, this is completely selfish. It's just me. I can go to pretty much any country in the world and I have someone to stay because I found a Black expat there that has found me. And so
That's
for
amazing.
me, I don't know if that was the community, but for me, I pretty much have housing across the planet for free. And so, but what I think is really cool is that, you know, it's almost like you have this extended family, right? Where you have found something that you've bonded, and it could be just living abroad, and it could be in a specific country. And it has been, I think, so enriching to me and the people who've been involved to say, oh my gosh, I see your story and my story, and maybe I'm not in the same country, but I get it. And we got to be friends. And it's been amazing to watch people build friendships off of my little idea that I was heading somewhere and said, oh, we need this. And here it is. So.
Yeah, that's so inspiring, that last part, Amanda. You're seeing people building relationships, and you're seeing the transformation that your idea made for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's knowing that we are just there's a wonderful phrase, I'm not a guru, I'm just a collaborator. And I think that's how probably the four of us see ourselves. We're just the platform, we're the conduit for these women to find local connections and make friendships. And I love it when they come along to a couple of events and then we don't see them again because they've already found their little niche and they're off happy, you know, with their new friends. So that, for me, that's my job done.
Yeah. It's helped. Yeah, I agree with you entirely. I love it when I see groups of women arranging to get together separate from me. It's like I don't have to do it all, and I see myself as a facilitator. I'm facilitating them meeting, and what I've got out of it has been really cool. Is I've actually made friends because, like you said, I created my own community, and it's a little bit egoic, but now, so I've only been here like not even 2 years, and I go to events and meet up with other people, and women come up to me and go, oh, you're Janine Sunsey, I'm in your group. And I go, oh, I feel a bit like,
Yeah.
okay, there's the ego out of the way. But yeah, it's, for me, I've been able to ask questions and get help and find an English speaking lawyer or, you know, whatever it might be. So I have the same value in the group as the other members do.
Yeah.
And I get that value as well. So, so I love that.
I was just going to jump in and say, Janine, if it makes you feel any better, when I go to conferences, I've had people actually yell, you're the Black expat. And I've been, actually, there are millions of them, but thank you. Thank you. It's entertaining.
This gives you a little buzz, doesn't it?
It is funny. It's great for branding.
Yeah, it is great.
So I think for me, I can relate to a lot of what you guys said, but I have my coaching business. So I'm a sole entrepreneur. And with Grow Together, I decided to build collectively. So for me, like not taking the lead in a sense of the community and the volunteers actually make decisions, it helped me a lot. Because sometimes I want to do everything by myself. So being part of a group and a community that's worked that way helped me a lot. Not needing to know all the answers, not needing to take always the lead or give the best example, and also making friends. As Janine said, for me, it was really important to realize that as an adult, I didn't forget how to make friends. I still know how to do it. So going to our last question, what advice do you have for folks looking to create a community for women or expats? And what are the risks, if any, we should be aware in community building?
For me, I would say start small and think big, because I actually started small and thought small when I started my community. So the name Costa Women is relevant if people are living on the coast of Spain, but actually quite quickly we had people joining that weren't living on the coast of Spain, and a lot of people thought they couldn't join because they didn't live on the coast. So think about, you know, some very basic branding and marketing things. And also to niche who your audience are. I think we've all niched who our audience is, but you don't have to have a great big type of, oh, I want that, you know, that type of person, and mums and grandparents, and, you know, just think who your ideal client would be for your platform. And the only other thing I would say is just try and, because I've built a lot of the connections through Facebook, but I have always asked the members to join the website first, because a lot of people are now leaving Facebook and leaving social media. So then I haven't lost them as part of that journey. They're still, you know, they're still on the website. I've still got contact with them because we don't own social media platforms, and they could change the rules at any point. So just be careful. I mean, it is a great place to start, but don't have it as the only place where you have your community.
Yeah, if I could follow on from that, I agree with you entirely. Hence, I'm building a separate community, which will be like a mini Facebook, but better, and your data will be really safe. And so I'm creating that, and it's going to be this magnificent community that people won't have to be in Facebook to be able to take advantage of this community. It will be a paid membership because I've spent a lot of money doing it. But my bit of advice with building a community is think about three things first, and get them clear in your own mind. Is your why for doing it? Why do you want to build a community? What do you want out of it personally? And how much time and effort are you prepared to give it? Because, you know, communities don't just grow themselves. They're like a garden. You have to choose the right soil first that your community can grow in. And we've just talked about the constraints of Facebook and how much better it is to have your own website. You need to plant the seeds, and that's, you know, well, how are you going to get your members and put them in so that they can help to start to grow? And you need to feed it and water it. And that is having constant engagement and interaction, constant and regular, so that people know what to expect from the community. And you need to weed it, because there will be people who join and comments that are made that are just negative energy that you don't want in your community. So yeah, treat it like a garden.
I think that both of you said everything that I would say. I love what you said about Facebook, because digital sharecropping, right? You don't own it, so have your own website. The only one thing I would add to all that great advice is really, you've got to be authentic and trustworthy. Because the people who are coming, there's a reason why they're coming to our groups. Obviously, there's a name and there's something they're looking for, but you've got to be transparent, I think, to a certain degree about what you don't know, what you can offer, but also keeping it as a safe space. And that's the counselor in me. I know you have a psychology background. I have a counseling background. So I'm always thinking about people in these ways, because I know that, and particularly for us, because it is tied particularly to racial identity, we kind of hold that very sacred, because we know that there are things that people are coming from And there are things that we get asked that we know don't get asked in the general public. And so I'm always very good about saying, this is our opinion, this has been our lived experience, but your mileage will vary depending on where you're coming from in the world and what you've gone through. But if nothing else, we will talk through it with you as a community to see if we can help you kind of figure out whatever decision you're going with. But you've got to be authentic. Otherwise, if folks just don't feel like you are genuine and true in what you're doing, they're not going to want to stay, especially women. Women can sniff that out immediately.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I second that wholeheartedly. Absolutely true.
I agree with everything that you guys said. It's amazing. The one thing that I would add is I'm always mindful to help people not to see our community as a new comfort zone, especially because we are Brazilian living abroad and people want to be around their own nationality. So I always tell them, we are one of the groups that you guys belong to. Have a healthy mix of different nationalities, of being around people from the country you are in. Don't lock yourself out, only Portuguese speaking Brazilian people. We are a community, but we are not the only community. And please we don't want to be the only people that you guys connect with. I say that all the time. Because then I think for me, it can become a trap. And I don't want people to fall on that same trap of only loving the community so much that becomes their whole world. Especially living abroad, which is such a colorful experience, right?
Yeah. And my group is very much like Ali's group. And there's so many different nationalities in it. And I looked at an analysis on Facebook just the other day, and the age group it ranges from 25 to 65. And people say, oh, Janine, like you said, Ali, you need to niche. I'm like, how can I? Like the niche is the need, being an expat woman in France, and the need for community. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's that's as long as you know what your niche is, and that is your niche, isn't it? Have you got any French members?
Yes, we even have French members.
Okay. Yeah, because we've got Spanish members. So I don't call ours an expat community for that reason. Ours is just a community for women who are living in Spain or want to live in Spain. Because I don't want to put off the locals coming to join us. But yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Quite a few French women who have joined because they actually want the expat community, because they've been expats themselves and they've repatriated, or they're just more international thinking, and they tell me that they want more international thinking, and they want to communicate with people who think globally.
Yeah,
and that's healthy for the community as well. That's
it is. Yeah. And the only other thing I would say is don't be scared about creative community because you're an introvert. Because some people look at it and say, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. I couldn't be up front. I couldn't be the person that, is the main focus, because you won't become the main focus. I'm an introvert, but I still run this huge community. So you don't become the focus. Your community is the focus. It's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
And true relationships is about connection, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all we have for today, girls. Thank you so much for sharing. I've been taking notes and learning from you guys, and it's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. Any final thoughts before we say our goodbyes?
Just thank you for the opportunity to share with here and with all the other women at the conference, and I'll just do a little plug. Mojocircle.com is where I'm launching the new community next year.
That's great. Yeah. So that's the end Oh, go ahead.
I was just
Amanda.
gonna say, yeah, I'm so excited, and I'm learning from y'all's communities as well, and it's
Yeah.
amazing to see what's happening around the planet. And yeah, I mean, I guess since we're doing plugs, the blackexpat.com, you can find the podcast there. You can find all kinds of stories and weirdness and funniness. So yeah, you can always, and it is as much as it's called the Black Expat, we have a number of folks who aren't Black who follow us for a variety of reasons. And so we love all our people.
Yeah.
And I've just started following you. In fact, I think I'm following all of you now,
Okay,
because
that's great.
it's great to meet other women that are doing the same thing. So that's a wonderful thing that's come out of this summit, that
Absolutely.
we're actually networking with women that are doing very similar things to us. So thank you.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's a wrap. Thank you so much, everybody that's listening. Thank you. And find your community, build your own, whatever, but connect. That makes all the difference if you are living abroad or planning on it. Thank you. Bye-bye.